J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, refused to condemn what these Republicans did. The Vice President of the United States, even though the Vice President of the United States, because Donald Trump has a history of racism. The Republican Party in the past 10 years has moved down the road of racism. So it's not surprising that you see the open embrace of Nazism, of anti-Semitism, of homophobia, of transphobia, of sexism, of history.
Slavery is the Democratic Party.
Why don't we just listen to you then? Tell us about Black history.
On that one, every American should be able to tell you about it. You don't have to be black to say that the Democratic Party was in favor of slavery, the party of slavery. Hitler or fascist.
J.D. Vance literally called Donald Trump Hitler. What are you talking about? J.D. Vance said that himself. J.D. Vance called Donald Trump Hitler.
Of the Republican Party at large, then I can say that Jay Jones's texts are symbolic of the Democrat Party.
You know what? You can't say that because when Jay Jones says something different.
And I think that they do that is because J.D. Vance knows that some racists in the Republican Party are supportive of their administration and does not want to antagonize them.
And one of the messages referred to black people as monkeys and watermelon people. One fantasized about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide. One called rape, quote, epic. Another supported Republicans who they believe support slavery.
Hello, everybody. Guys, we got Dumbo today, but he's completely unimportant. Keith Boykin, my man, you deserve an award, a medal. I appreciate very much what you did here. Let's get into the segment and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, the vice president is weighing in on thousands of leaked messages from young Republicans who were joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape. Politico reports on Telegram chats involving leaders of the groups across the country from the first 7 months of this year. Now, one of the messages referred to black people as monkeys and watermelon people. One fantasized about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide. One called rape, quote, epic. Another supported Republicans who they believe support slavery. One talked about sending political opponents to gas chambers to, quote, watch people burn now. Slurs were reportedly used more than 250 times, including racist and homophobic ones. The outlet reports that at least one texter lost their job for this, and another had their job offer rescinded, and at least two of them apologized. High-profile state Republicans like Republican Representative Lee Stefanik have condemned the messages, and the young Republicans called the chains vile, disgraceful, and inexcusable. But Vice President J.D. Vance is taking a different approach tonight, citing the text of a Democratic candidate for Virginia's Attorney General from a couple of years ago in which he suggested a lawmaker get 2 bullets to the head. Vance writes, quote, this is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. It's an interesting choice on Vance's part.
Yeah, I think the vice president missed an opportunity here. I mean, these are, young Republicans, disgusting. They're learning a hard life lesson on the public stage right now that you need to grow up and not, say stupid and hateful and just disgusting things. I think the vice president could have really used this moment as a learning moment and, encouraging these young men and women, I don't know who they were, but to be better and to, denounce what they've said, to move on and be better. These are young Republicans, and so I don't hold necessarily anyone responsible. They're young, they need to make mistakes, they need to apologize and see the error and move forward, and I wish that, the vice president would have said that. I don't understand the excuse for the Democrat nominee for Attorney General in Virginia when he texted, even worse things as an adult, as a sitting office holder, about a colleague in the state assembly. And so they're not comparable. They really aren't. These comments are disgusting. I really hope these young men and women learn from this, learn that, how wrong it was and become better. And I really hope, I'm glad to see a number of Republicans step up and condemn them as well, because they're terrible. But I do think to say that this somehow justifies that Jay Jones did nothing wrong and should still be the nominee for Attorney General.
You just did exactly the same thing that J.D. Vance did, except for the fact that you denounced the words, but you immediately pivoted to...
I wouldn't have brought him up if you weren't talking about it.
pivoted to a Democrat instead of focusing on the fact that this is a pattern. The saddest thing about this story is that it was not the least bit surprising to me. I mean, I don't think anyone who I know who's familiar with where the Republican Party has been going the past decade or so is the least
Hitler or fascist.
Well, J.D. Vance literally called Donald Trump Hitler. What are you talking about?
Dumbass.
J.D. Vance said that himself. J.D. Vance called Donald Trump Hitler.
This is where the Democrat Party is going?
Hold on, Kristen. And also, Ben, as we've played multiple times here, Trump has repeatedly called his Democratic opponents fascists. So that argument does not hold.
And there's a whole...
Look at him laughing. These people are such pieces of crap. These people just don't care. Oh, racism, fascism. Oh, it's just all funny, right? You big ear fuck. Like, look at those effing messages. Is it okay now that we call you guys fascists, bigots, racists, Hitler-loving pieces of shit? Without you crying and whining as to, why do we keep doing this? I don't want to hear crap from these people anymore. About stop calling us fascists. It's dangerous. Look at that shit. Look at those messages again.
History of racism in the Republican Party. It started in 19...
You guys had slavery. We were against it.
Okay, let me
The
finish.
Democratic Party literally was a party of slavery. So let's not act like there's not a history. If you want to talk history, slavery is the Democratic Party.
Why don't we just listen to you then? Tell us about black history.
On that one, every American should be able to tell you about it. You don't have to be black to say that the Democratic Party was in favor of slavery, the party of slavery.
Ben, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me just say
I do. It wasn't the Republican Party.
Let me just make one
there.
note, because I do think that there's something interesting. Look, I just want to say, I think Kristen is 100% right. This was an opportunity that was missed, right? To say...
Are you effing kidding me? An opportunity missed. A mistake. It's on effing purpose. It's on purpose. You know this. There are no innocent. Like, this is not a mistake by J.D. Vance. The difference between all of this is the pattern. There is no pattern of people saying things like what the guy Jay Jones said 2 years ago about 2 bullets to the head or whatever. But when it comes to racism, do you not see the consistent pattern within the Republican Party? From the online pundits to the TV pundits like Scott Jennings that couldn't answer a simple question. Is saying the statement Haitians are eating cats and dogs racist? Froze for a whole minute there. Like, come on, cut the crap. This is a way of trying to squirm out of reality as to what we all know, what we all see. We're never going to fix these issues. It's a mistake, an opportunity miss? Get the F out of here. Like, clearly, even those people texting know exactly who the Republican Party is. They knew they were right at home. And look how J.D. Vance respond. They are at home. Like, cut the crap.
We draw the line somewhere in our politics. And it's not the first time that but Vance has seen an opportunity like that and completely blown past it. You know, back in February, Vance and Trump called for the rehiring of a DOJ staffer who quit over racist posts, and they did rehire that individual. Well, I think let's not get distracted by some of the other parts of this, but why is it that, you know, he's unwilling to just say, this is disgusting, this is vile, this has no place in the Republican Party, cut it out?
Yeah, two things I think can be true here. Number one, I'm glad we know who these conservatives are. I think there should be consequences for their words. I don't think this is just a teaching moment. I think if they have a job, they should lose their job. I don't think they should work in the Republican Party.
How about J.D. Vance and Trump? Should they lose their effing jobs? And all these other bigots in the party? Marjorie Taylor Greene calling AOC and whatever the squad, the Jihad squad, should they be fired?
I don't think they should be involved in the Republican Party. I think they should be excommunicated and put on the bench for a pretty good amount of time. I want to be clear about that. I also think that if you are about to be in an elected office in Virginia and you've said things that are worse than this, and you've said that the kids deserve to be hurt, that two things can be true at the same time. Republicans, young Republicans saying this, they should absolutely have the consequence.
But it's not just young Republicans, Ben.
But Democrats have defended an individual who said that family members should die.
Let me just say, I mean, these are separate incidents.
Yeah.
However, the same question that I posed to them does apply to Democrats in the case of the Virginia case. And,
Thank you.
And it's easy to say you can.
look,
I condemn that. How hard is it for J.D. Vance to say I condemn
what
these Republicans are doing?
To say it, if that's the question. If the question is,
The question is, if I'm saying a kid should lose their job,
but my point, and you kind of made this earlier, Abby, is that there are racist Republicans who are currently working in the Trump administration who have been outed for their racism, and Trump let them stay there. One guy said America should be led by white men only. White men only. One guy said this, and Trump put him in the office.
So by that justification, every Democrat talks the same way that Jay Jones does. By that same justification, every Democrat wants their opponent
it's
to
2-on-1.
die.
Just let me speak here.
Hold on a second. I'm not understanding the point that you're making.
The point that I'm making, if you're trying to say that these texts are symbolic of the Republican Party at large, then I can say that Jay Jones's texts are symbolic of the Democrat Party.
You know what? You can't say that because when Jay Jones says something, Democrats condemn it, like I just did. But J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, refused to condemn what these Republicans did.
The Vice President of the United States, even though the Vice President of the United States,
because Donald Trump has a history of racism, and the fish rots from the head.
Wait a second.
These people didn't get this idea on their own. They're getting it from Donald Trump.
Who is Jay Jones's model?
Just give me.
Jay Jones is not the issue.
Just give me 1 second.
It's the same philosophy.
He's already been.
All right,
Everybody stop for just stupid, disgusting texts and saying it's the Republican Party. What is the difference between me saying it's a Democrat?
But hold on. That's why I want you guys to stop for just a second. But Keith, is that?
Oh my God! It clearly hit a nerve with her. She knows there's no comparison between this guy Jay Jones from 2 years ago. Like, there's no comparison because there is no pattern. Do you understand the word pattern, you effing idiot? She knows the truth about her party, and that's why I hit a nerve. She probably hates it because she gets looped in with these bigots in her party. And I've talked about this before. There's a lot of people out there that will say, well, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. Yeah, I know some of them are. Trump says racist things, but yeah, I still voted for him. But what I would say to her is, why continue to support a party that peddles in this kind of stuff? I call people like her racist square root. These are the people that are like, no, I'm not racist. I know Trump and Republicans are, but I still vote for him for this and that reason. Like, okay, if that's the case, then stop crying as to why people believe you are also a bigot. If you easily look past it and you surround yourself with them and you defend them right here like you're doing now, I'm sorry, don't start crying when you get looped in with them. Like, these people are effing morons. They just cry. They want to have it both ways. They want to be racist and not be called racist. They want to be fascist and not be called fascist. If it's not important to you that Trump and Republicans are bigots, then you need to look into the mirror as to why that is. Pendejo. Pendejas. I talk about this almost daily. Those text messages aren't from children. Those are young adults. That shit is not, it didn't come out of nowhere. These people, where do you think they're getting this from? Are these people at all curious as to why your party is filled to the brim with these kinds of people? These bigots, racist, disgusting. These issues will never get resolved because Republicans like these two buffoons don't give an F that it gets resolved. They're not affected by it one way or another until they are. They know who their supporters are. And it's a bunch of bigots that talk like that, which is why she and Dumbo over there just simply cannot push back without a caveat.
What you're saying is that this is representative of the Republican Party?
I am saying exactly that. The Republican Party in the past 10 years has moved down the road of racism. So it's not surprising that you see the open embrace of Nazism, of anti-Semitism, of homophobia, of transphobia, of sexism, of attacks on immigrants and xenophobia. Because the Republican Party under Donald Trump,
say that the Democrat Party has moved to the party of death.
Has doubled down on his racism.
All right, Anna, go ahead.
Look, I'll tell you what I found really sad about this is that this is a very young generation it was, people, it was young Republicans in Vermont and in Arizona and in New York, so all over the country, and they were so young. So it kind of, to me, it just breaks my heart that, we haven't moved past the racial stereotypes that maybe were somehow accepted You know, we keep forgiving people who said racist, stupid things 60 years ago because that's when it was accepted. Today, it shouldn't be accepted. There should be consequences, and it breaks my heart that there's 20-year-old kids who are in leadership positions in Republican organizations who are saying these things. And I do applaud Elise Stefanik and any other Republican who condemns them. I think it's par for the course for J.D. Vance. And the reason I think that they do that is because J.D. Vance knows that some racists in the Republican Party are supportive of their administration and does not want to antagonize them.
All right.
So is that why no one has called on Jim Jones to step down?
Listen, all the racists out there, if you're into politics, you're an effing Republican. The majority of the Republican Party, in my belief, is filled with you're either a racist, a bigot, you hate one group or another. Like, and you know what, Anna, what I want to tell you, it used to sadden me and break my heart too. But now it just effing angers me and makes me want vengeance against these pieces of garbage, if I'm being honest. Keith Boykin, you have my utmost respect. That's how you do this. This is how, anytime these topics are touched, whether it's bigotry against gay people, trans people, I don't give a F who it is, what religion, what skin color. This is how you fight back against this. Anytime this conversation is brought up, if you want to somehow stop this boulder from barreling down society, this is about effing pattern with Republicans and conservatives and the constant excuse making that you saw there. This is literally Republicans' go-to move. We all knew when Kamala was the nominee that the racism would start, and sure enough, first week of it, conservatives are running around calling Kamala not black. She was a DEI VP, incompetent, slept her way to the top. All this bullshit. Charlie Kirk, that dumbass, look at what happened to him because of his disgusting bigotry. They have learned nothing and will continue to do so. How about that little weird fuck, little Nick Fuentes, who is out and a proud white nationalist? Oh, I wonder what party and who he supports. Guys, he got into politics because of Trump. How about Haitians are eating cats and dogs? Said it after being told it was a lie. But they said it anyways. I wonder why that is. Why did they feel so compelled to keep doing this? But we're supposed to act so confused and surprised as to where all this is coming from. Let's look under the bed. Let's look behind the counters. How did we get here? Diablo. They know who the Republicans are. They pretend to be clueless. They know who conservative voters are. They pretend to be stupid. Where do you think these so-called effing kids, they're adults, learn this stuff? How about Laura Loomer? You think they learned something from her? Who said alligators at the Florida prison will be well fed since there's 65 million Hispanics in this country, including the American legal ones? How about Ben Shapiro saying we should pardon Derek Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd in cold blood? How about the dumbass Charlie Kirk saying black people lack the brain power? Those 4 black women, whatever, 3 black women lack the brain power in stealing jobs from white men. We all know what he thinks about the rest of black and brown people, don't we? You think this had anything to do with it? They gave that racist piece of shit just the other day, the Medal of Freedom, Medal of Honor, whatever the hell it's called. They just gave that guy, Charlie Kirk, a medal. So confused as to why you guys are called bigots. Vance called a Hispanic congressman a few months ago Jose when he knew that wasn't his name. Trump with the sombrero racist meme garbage against Hakeem Jeffries. Like this, we can just keep going on and on with the constant garbage, bigotry coming from this party. From the conservatives to the pundits, to the online pundits, all of them. Candace Owens, all of these mother effers. They know where their bread is buttered. But don't you worry, their time will come sooner or later. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Sorry, I know that was a long rant, but these kinds of things just really piss me off. And again, thank you, Keith. That's how you effing do it. And pundits out there, if you watch my channel, I'm going to highlight you every time. When you fight back like that, you're going to be in the front of my thumbnail. You're going to be on the title. Every effing time you talk like that. So just take that as somewhat of an incentive. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, really helps spread the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.